Gut microbiome is a hot topic, and
Yes, it
you've
is.
described the gut as the foundation of emotional and physical longevity. Why do you see the microbiome as so central to aging well?
And to be honest, the microbiome is central to just about every aspect of health. And that's really what the research is uncovering. It's a really exciting time to be in because microbiome research has just exploded. I didn't even learn about it in school. I don't want to say how old I am,
You're
but it
younger
wasn't.
than me.
Well, you definitely didn't learn about it, but I didn't learn about it
Yeah.
either. The Human Microbiome Project kicked off in 2007, and we just are really beginning to uncover. I feel like we're in this sort of next frontier of health where the microbiome is truly being seen as the foundation. And I work for a company right now called Resbiotic, and that's actually a term that we've coined, which is the gut X axis. And I love that because it highlights the gut as this central communicator or central hub and how it communicates bidirectionally, right, to the rest of the body. So we know that, say, for example, our brain or our lungs, that when we have imbalance or dysfunction, it can send and communicate to the gut and vice versa. And so it's an exciting area to be in because we used to look at nutrition or genes, environment as the major indicators of health. And yes, they are, but there's a third leg of the stool now, which is the microbiome.
So, what are some of the biggest misconceptions you encounter around gut health, especially with older adults?
So I think one of the biggest things when it comes to gut health is you have to have GI issues to have an unhealthy microbiome. And one thing we've learned as we're starting to dig deeper into aging and how to age healthfully and looking at both lifespan and health span, that our microbiome changes as we get older. And when we look at people who are the healthiest as they age, they have healthier looking microbiomes. And that is and healthy microbiomes have very characteristic microbiomes. And so I think one of the biggest misconceptions is, oh, my gut doesn't hurt. I don't feel bloated. I poop normally. My gut is healthy. Well, do we sleep well? How's our skin? Do we have a lot of anxiety? Do we suffer from depression? What else is going on in our lives, in our body that could actually be linked back to the health of our microbiome?
Yeah, we're going to get into this a lot deeper because I feel like that's been the missing link in part of my aging well is trying to figure out what's going on with my gut. And then I think it affects my sleep. And I think, I suffer from occasional eczema. And there's just different things that have always pointed back to the gut. And it's like, but I am like super regular when it comes to pooping. I mean, you could
Yeah.
set a clock to
Yep.
my poop schedule. And so not to start diving into that too deeply, but how has our understanding of the gut brain axis evolved over the past decade? And how can people use that knowledge more practically?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to get into your poops if you want. This is like
That's
second
not
language to
physically, I
me.
hope. Yeah.
No, no, no.
I
Although
didn't
I
bring a
imagine
sample
these
with me.
although I that's how I envision all these microbiologists, they're just like sifting through. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think that's one thing that when we look at this connection of the gut to the rest of the body, the gut brain axis is one area of health or in one area of this sort of bidirectional communication loop that's really been studied. I mean, we call the gut the second brain. We understand that we have very visceral feelings, right? When we're nervous, you've got butterflies in your stomach, or we have sayings in our life of like, go with your gut feeling. And it's because this connection is real. And so I think what's helped us in this understanding is we know the gut can drive dysfunction to the brain. So I've worked with so many patients that have suffered from things like irritable bowel syndrome, which has been renamed to disorders of gut brain interaction. We used to call these functional GI disorders, and that was seemingly thought of as being less legitimate. And so now they've been renamed to disorders of gut brain interaction, which really highlights truly what's happening. So I've had so many clients and patients that I've worked with that have said, oh, I've never had anxiety until all my GI issues set in. Or we have the opposite, right? We have where I get so nervous, I have to poop, right? Or I've got those butterflies in my stomach, or I'm so nervous I can't eat because what's happening in our brain and that instability can drive then changes to our gut. And so now that's kind of led to further development of precision probiotics, precision interventions, different types of therapy that are truly honing in on the gut brain axis and the mechanisms involved in that connection.